Hey guys, Mike here with Replicons. This is going to be a very important video because I'm introducing to you a new swing trading system I call Gravitas. I was thinking about calling it Lightning because then I was thinking about Lightning networks. That doesn't really work, so it would be confusing. Basically Lightning because of the zigzag. It is a long-term swing trading system. I was thinking of Blitz, which is the German word for lightning, but I don't know. That doesn't really work very well either. So I thought of Gravitas. That's not bad because it's a trend trading system. So it gravitates towards the right direction. So what's this all about and why should I care? Well, I'm here to explain this to you, of course. The system is based on two indicators that I developed several years ago. And I actually had lost that code. Well, I still had it physically, but I didn't have it running because I upgraded my system and I didn't have Windows running anywhere, and my Parallels-based Windows installation I couldn't recover because of upgrades, and it just wasn't working because Windows has changed and I have now an M1 OS X, and so I couldn't run on this. And what I did then was to transfer the code over to a VPS, virtual system online, and set it all up and made it run. And right away after setting these indicators up, I realized, wow, this works very well, and this would really helped us a lot especially over the last few months. And I've been talking about, especially these here, the Kalmans, which are these lines right here, and the netline indicators for a few weeks now. I even made a video. I'm going to link it in the description. So if you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it because I think it's a really great video about how these indicators work, why they work, what the purpose is, and how they're different from traditional indicators. I actually call them meta indicators. And again, the link to the video is in the description. So if you're curious, watch it. Otherwise, let's just be focused on the system because the system is basically based on, the Kalmans. There's two Kalmans. There's a long one and a short one. And then there's a netline indicator. And that's pretty much it. That's it. It's not a complicated system. The rule set is very brief, actually. It's just got four major rules. That's it. And so is it any good? Well, let me show you. The first thing we're going to do here actually as a demonstration is going to turn off the visible aspects, the indicators. We're going to turn them off because I have a little setting here. So we're going to turn this off. 1 second. There. Now the system's off. And then so right here, show indicators, I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to turn the system back on. And so we're only going to see the executions. And it tells us a lot about the system right there. And you can see we're actually short since right here. This was actually April 27th. That's when the system went short. It was briefly long, went out a little bit below break even here. It was short here. It was long here and got out here, just so from here to here. So I lost a little bit. And let's scroll a bit over. So we're going all the way back to like 2000, all the way back. I think I have it running until 2018. You see it being long here until, actually, by the cover. Actually, it set out this part here. It was long here. It was short here. So there's periods when it doesn't do anything. And that's then you can basically choose whether or not you're going to just stick with the trend or if you don't do anything. Actually, this I don't see very often, to be honest, because if you see here short, long, this was also, here was briefly short, but went long right away. Here it's short, it's long, I'm sorry. Right here, from here, see, by the cover, and then buys again. So it was previously short, right here, briefly short. Here was also long again. There was a little bit of whipsaw, and I think it held up very well doing that whipsaw. Okay, here it was so short briefly until here. Here it was long. You can see from here to here it was long. From here to here it was short. This actually, it's very interesting because this shows us right here that it's not picking the exact bottoms and tops because that is really not the game here. It would be nice, of course, right? If I could just, sell down here and buy back down here, but no system ever will give you that. Trust me, I've tried. And the best we can do is just stay in the overall trend, and it does a very good job on that. So look a little bit more tame here. We got a short here. We got it was short here until here. See once again, it's very hard to counteract these big swings here, right? That happened like in 2 days. for any system, it's going to be very difficult to pick up. But what do we want is what you see here on, on this side here, these long-term trends. You want to capture that, and it does a very, very good job at catching those. Same here on the downside. See that there, and there's some in between, but sells short here, buys long again, and holds it, buys again here. So it does a really good job of running through the swings, right? Of course, if you know anything about system development, the first thing actually you're gonna probably ask, say, well, Mike, it's all nice and dandy, but how do you know this is not a fragile system? And by that, I mean, let's say we change a few parameters. How do you know it doesn't fall apart? Well, we in fact know this because I have a strategy analyzer here. Let me show you. And we're going to actually play some games. We're going to play the game. Let's break the system. So first up, what I want to show you is right here. So I have basically, what we have in front of us here is a genetic optimizer. It's a genetic backtester. It's set to genetic down here. Optimization set to genetic. By that, it basically goes through a set of parameters. See right here? Set of parameters. Here we have from 40 to 700, 30 to 700 on a short Kalman. The previous one was a long Kalman. We also have the net line length, which is 3. We'd never change that because that's really an optimal setting. And so basically we only have 3 settings. The last setting is then net lines expiration, which is how long the net line stays active, right? I originally had it to 6 days. That's how it's been running since 2010. But it turns out longer actually is better. And longer periods are better. It seems to do a better job. And that was really actually quite surprising because every single backtest I've run has shown that. So somewhere between like 14 to 20 seems to be optimal. But be this as it may, so we have basically up here like a whole list of settings that seem to have tested very well. So the curve slightly changes, right? So I took one of them right over here, and I took it over here. There's a 220-100, and so actually originally that was 220-100. Let me show you how that looked like because I already changed it. And I actually recorded this video before, and then the power went out and I lost everything. So I'm starting from scratch here. So let's actually run the original setting, which was 220-100, and see what we get. There you go. Very nice. And so again, as you remember, a system is only as good as its fragility, meaning that if you change parameters around, right, then it might not operate properly, it might not work properly, right? And an anti-fragile system has a wide range of settings that it's able to tolerate without the system breaking down. Because I've seen systems that look extremely good, and you change it like by 10%, you change the values, and the whole system falls apart. Well, that is not going to fly. Because look, I could, for instance, grab my time machine, and then go to 2024. And then backtest for the last 2 years, right? And say, hey, this is the optimal setting right there. That's what we should trade. And it would be awesome. But unfortunately, my time machine is broken. And we need to deal with the present right now. So what's the best we can get? Well, we need to make sure that changing the settings don't really affect the results too much. Because if they do, then we have a fragile system. So let's do that. So I just changed it to 220-100, which tested out very well, right? So let's go to, 220-150 and see what happens. Okay, that's quite a change, right? So let's see if I can break the system with that. Let's run it, running it live. Boom, still working. Okay, all right, let's change it to 250 and see what happens. Let's crack this thing, right? There, still works. All right, screw it. Let's do 250, 200. I mean, something's gonna give, right? Still works. Okay, let's go the other way. Let's go, 150, 100. See if it does it. It's probably going to get more busy, more executions, because we're shortening the length of the Kalman, right? So it's going to be more responsive to Kalman. So I expect more volatility here. Oh, wow, still works. More volatility though here, see? And that's why my experience from my testing is that it's better to have longer settings, right? But again, as I said, if I have a setting, let's say 300 and 250, right? Is it going to work? right? Because I have to guess today what settings I'm going to have to run, right, moving forward. Yes, it is going to work, right? And let's say change it maybe to 400. Would that break the system? No, it would not. In fact, it's almost identical. And that's exactly what we want to see. Let's do one more thing. Let's go here and change the net lines exploration to 14, right? As opposed to, I don't know, 20, right? Barely makes a difference. And I mean, if you scroll back, you see the results are different. This is not always the same results because the numbers change slightly, right? And the shape slightly changes. So this is a live run I'm doing, and nothing really changes. Again, the period is between 1/1/2020 and today, which is basically May 27th of 2022. So how does it perform on other symbols? Well, here we have, for instance, the Ethereum runs, and it runs extremely well, right? Here, for instance, I have, excuse me, if we can maybe take one out here, and I'm just going to go and take the top one here, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to modify the settings and see how it performs, right? Open Strategy Analyzer tab. Open in Strategy Analyzer tab. Okay, here it is. By the way, it's not going to get a good sharp score because of it being a very slow system. Okay, now over here, okay, this is set to 410, 285. Well, it's a very specific system. I mean, come on, don't be ridiculous. So it's set to 400 and 300 and see if the system falls apart. Right? And then we're going to mess with it a little bit more, try to crack it. Boom, still works. Okay, screw it. Let's go 400, 200. Something's got to give, right, at some point. Still works, a little bit more volatile. Okay, let's break it. Let's go down to 300. Still works, but it becomes more volatile. See that? It's becoming volatile. That's about also more executions, as you can see. Before it was like 9, 10 executions over the last 18 months or so. Here it's more like 20. I like it more long term, especially on Ethereum, by the way. Ethereum is very busy. It's much more volatile than Bitcoin. So my experience is from testing that you want to be a little bit more on the longer side. But you know what? I'm here to prove a point. So let's change it to 200 and 150. Let's try to break the system here, okay? Still works, It becomes a little more profitable here. It's more volatile here. But it's still a working system. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see. So let's go back to 400, say, I don't know, 400, 250. Right there. Let's change that to just 20 down here, just for shits and giggles, right? Let's say. Boom. Absolutely good setting. And so here I am, right? I don't have to guess what the optimal setting would be in the future. We know nothing's going to be perfect, but what we do know is that all of these, it's a very wide range of settings, right? That works extremely well. And that's what we want. Let's say we go to 450 and, I don't know, 350. Actually, getting on closer to each other seems to work well for Ethereum. That's my experience. Less of a delta between the two settings. There you go. That's probably how I would want to run it. Like, 450, 350, maybe 400, 350, something like that. Now, this is what, 450, 350? So yeah, if we go to maybe 400 and 300, that would work as well. Or I could probably even go to 500 and 400, right? Let's try that. 500. That's a long setting, huh? Pardon my voice is going. Let's check that. Works great, right? So I think you understand the point I'm trying to make here. And so, all right, let's assume you think this is a good idea, which I think it's a good idea, and you want to trade the system. Well, how would this work? Well, actually, I'm glad you asked. Let me turn this back on real quick. So again, you see the indicators at hand. And then we talk about the system and how you can actually get access to it. By the way, just so it's clear, and you probably wondered if you're a subscriber to Cryptonaissance or if you're in the altcoin mastermind, you're going to get 1 year free of this because we've been through a lot of pain in the last 6 months, especially. And this is going to help. This is going to help us a lot to give us more context, right? Because right now, for instance, we're in Bitcoin season. We might at some point switch in Ethereum season. Who knows? But holding them long is a tough grind, especially right now. We don't know when there's a long, when we get a long-term signal again, and I mean a long signal again, right? If when things bounce a little bit. For here, what we're looking at right now is potentially more pain, right? We have a little bit of a spike low happening right now. I'm not sure if that can be maintained toward the end of the session, but right now the system is still short. And what I really like is if you look at this, right, see how it wasn't kicked out. It wasn't kicked out the position that it took right here. And that's very valuable, right? So a little bit sideways volatility really doesn't affect the system. And that's because it uses a combination of these two indicators, right? It uses the Kalman plus the net lines as well. If you use only one or the other and actually tested that, then it doesn't work that well. It had the odds, there's still an edge there, actually, a profitable edge, but it's much more volatile and harder to sit through. The combination of the two is really greater than the sum of its parts, right? And that's really what makes a good system. At the same time, it's not an overly complicated system, right? It's not a system that you have 10,000 rules, which makes it, again, fragile, right? You have like basically 4 rules in this, which is really, really awesome. So yeah, how do you get access to it, right? Well, very simple. I'm going to show you. I have wired something up, which is really cool. And if you're a subscriber already, you probably recognize this. Again, I apologize about my voice. It's going. I've recorded this for the 3rd time now because I had a storm and the power went out, and then once I forgot to plug in a microphone. It's been a long day. So you see, I have a new channel here that it's experimental right now. I'm testing it. It's called Gravitas Bitcoin. Gravitas for the system, of course, and it runs, of course, against Bitcoin. And you see right here. Here's the today's report. And what does it tell you? Well, Gravitas report for today, for June 12th, and position is short. This is the closing price of Bitcoin for yesterday. Always deal with closing prices. There's no interim magic going on, which I also wanted because some interim system, very hard to backtest because a lot of times they're wrong because you're making a lot of assumptions. System that work on a market on a closing candle basis are usually much more accurate, especially when it comes to backtesting. And here is basically the returns in USD, right? Had you held short since what is that, April 27th, right? That's on a percentage basis, 27.6%, and that's basically since the current campaign, active since 4/27. Maybe I should say campaign, but I guess I could maybe make it more clear. Not the system, but the campaign is active since the 27th. And also one thing, yesterday it would have also told us that there was this right here, by the way, if you're looking here on the right side there on the chart, right? If you look over here, there's a netline buy level netline sell level that was breached. Let me move this down, and I'm going to zoom in and show you. See right here, netline sell level was breached right here, and it would actually tell you this right here. It would actually say, right here on the bottom, netline sell level breached. Why? Well, hey, maybe you just signed up for the system last week or even 2 weeks ago. You're still holding, I don't know, maybe you're holding long, or maybe you're in cash. You want to know, should I buy now? Well, you want more context because, hey, guess what? You didn't sell, right? Bitcoin, maybe Bitcoin futures or anything like that when the system triggered. So you want to know if there's new short signals being triggered, and that's why this would tell you. So it would right here on the bottom here for the 11th report, right? Because it happened. The netline sellable breach happened on the day before, which is the 10th. So that's how that works. And so at some point, all you current Cryptonics subscribers, as well Mastermind subscribers, you log into your trading forum here, right? The chat.replicons.com, or maybe you have it on your mobile phone. There's Natter chat. We've sent you instructions if you're members, so you know all about that. You're one of these groups already. You're going to see at some point a new group pop up here, right? I'm going to have added you, and you're going to be able to observe this. So it's going to be active for a year, and you're going to be able to enjoy these signals. If you don't want to get into the signals, then you can send me an email, and we can unsubscribe you and can remove you, so no problem at all. I can actually selectively remove people from a particular channel if that's really what you want, right? If you're really not interested in that. So we'll you let me know, and we'll take care of it. But that's basically very simple. So every day you're going to get a report. So you're going to, and the system automatically executes every day at the rollover, which happens at midnight. So in the morning you get up and you look at the report. There's really no rush. And if you want to take action, that's when you take the action. So yeah, that's basically all there is to it. By the way, yeah, here we're looking at Bitcoin. One more thing I want to show you, by the way, before I let you go, is Ethereum. So let me zoom in a little bit, because it shows you also how the system performed on Ethereum here, right on the chart. And what concerned me really was, see here, it was bumping against these neckline sell levels, and it didn't even come up to these neckline buy levels, right? It didn't even breach one of them, even briefly. So right away, it showed us that Ethereum was much weaker. And then here it breached, see right here, through two. That's usually the death knell, to be honest. If you slice through two consecutive neckline sell levels, well, the rest is history, right? So here we are, and it happened. So I hope this was valuable to you. Seeing the system in action, seeing the backtest, seeing how anti-fragile it is. Want to really share it with the crew, share it with my audience, and make sure that everyone understands how the system works, what it's based on, simple rule set, anti-fragile, how we can use it, also moving forward in order to plot path forward, how we can use it in the context of our trading, all these kind of things, right? So, oh yeah, one more question you might have is how may it tie into cryptanalysis later? Well, I'm usually very slow to make changes to a system. So I'm going to take my time, and I thought introducing this and sharing this with my existing subs is probably the right way to go before I open this up to a wider public, which I will have at some point, of course, I don't run a charity operation either. But right now, I want to share this with my existing crew, my existing subscribers. And I think I've got very little doubt that we're going to develop a lot more confidence around it. Eventually, what I think is to basically tacking it on to cryptanalysis in a way that if it's Ethereum or Bitcoin season, that we then just go into cash, right? If the system flags short, it would just go switch cryptanalysis into cash. Implementing that would be very non-intrusive in terms of the overall experience and in terms of how the system has worked so far. And also would require very little changes in terms of code changes and everything. So I think that's the right way to go. But in the interim, until we do that, this is a great way to trade it forward, observe it, right? I will share more charts with you guys, of course, as I go, and make sure everyone's on board, understands how it works, and has a sound level of confidence in it, because I don't expect you to trade black boxes, because that stuff is all the way out there. You don't know how it works. You don't know when it breaks, why it breaks, all these kind of things, right? So understanding what makes it tick, what it's based on, I think it's very important. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you did, then avoid the video. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you haven't already. Any thoughts, any ideas, any criticism, anything you want to share, don't hesitate to send me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Cheers.